Let's go, Willie. Good evening and welcome to the City of Roswell special called Mayor and City Council meeting for October 30th, 2023. I am Mayor Kurt Wilson. Immediately following this meeting, we will have a Mayor and Council open forum meeting, but this is a special call meeting which will occur first. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge my colleagues and council members present. Council Member Sarah Beeson, Council Member Christine Hall, Council Member Lee Hills, Council Member William Mortland, and Council Member Michael Palermo. I'll now turn it over to our City Administrator, Mr. Randy Knighton. Mr. Randy Knighton will explain how the meeting is run.
Thank you, Mayor Wilson. In accordance with Section Chapter 3.70 of the City Code, the City Council shall hold regular public meetings, and the Mayor can call special called Mayor and Council meetings as needed. The purpose of City Council meetings are for the public to participate and speak on agenda items which constitute formal decisions by the elected body. These items are listed on the published agenda, which can be accessed via the city website prior to the meeting. This is a public meeting. Some items do require a formal public hearing. A significant and important component of City Council meetings are for the elected body to hear directly from residents on the items listed on the agenda. Public comments or questions are essential for Mayor and Council to incorporate as they contemplate each decision. Residents are at the top of the organizational chart for the City of Roswell, and therefore it is imperative for Mayor and Council to hear from residents in these meetings. If you would like to speak on an item, we ask that you fill out a comment card, which are located at the back of the room in order to ensure an accurate record of the meeting. We ask, of course, that everyone observe the principles of mutual respect and display the appropriate demeanor during the course of the meeting this evening, which should be and is reflective of this great community. The Mayor is the presiding officer of the meeting and will ensure the orderly exchange of comments, questions, and discussion leading to decision-making by the elected body. We encourage everyone in attendance and the viewing audience to visit the city website for meetings, events, and departmental information. We also encourage everyone to review and participate in the various activities and offerings here in the City of Roswell. You can find a list of those items on roswell365.com. There are a number of events scheduled upcoming in the city, which the Mayor will speak about shortly, along with other announcements which promote community, physical activity, and leisure as we all make Roswell the #1 family community in America. Mayor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Knighton. Appreciate that very much, sir. At this time, I would like to call Dory Griggs, City of Roswell Fire Department Chaplain, to the front for the moment of silence and invocation.
Please join me. Holy One, we are grateful for this opportunity to gather as a community to discuss the business of this great city. We give special thanks for the service of the esteemed veteran of Roswell, Sergeant Major Gerald Urmansky of the United States National Guard, and the service of all members of and veterans of our armed services. Tonight, we celebrate another milestone of the Roswell Fire Department in the swearing in of the 1st Division Chief of Emergency Management, 3 new captains, 9 new lieutenants, and 2 other officers who have been serving with honor. Be with each of them as they serve the department in the City of Roswell. Protect each member of our public safety departments as they work to keep our community safe. Thank you for the freedom to gather and discuss the needs and concerns of our city this evening. Help us to listen and respond with respect. As we leave this place and return to our homes, grant us traveling mercies. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chaplain Dory Griggs of the Roswell Fire Department. At this time, I'd like to call Sergeant Major Gerald Urmansky, United States Army Reserve, to come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me as we pledge allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. At this time, I'd like to ask Sergeant Major Urmansky to stay up there, and I'd like to ask the council to come down for the first item under the mayor's report, which is the reading of a proclamation for the Esteemed Veteran of Roswell Award to Sergeant Major Gerald Urmansky, United States Army Reserve. And everybody can sit down. Sorry. Proclamation, Office of the Mayor. Sergeant Major Gerald Urmansky, esteemed veteran. Whereas Sergeant Major Gerald Urmansky began his military career after graduating from college at the University of Wisconsin with a bachelor's in business administration. And whereas upon a graduation in 1967, he was assigned to the 724th Engineer Battalion for the United States Army Reserve in Tomahawk, Wisconsin. Whereas in 1968, he served in the 84th Division of the United States Army Reserve in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, holding various positions such as unit clerk, armorer, supply sergeant, and platoon sergeant. Whereas in 1974, he served in the 376 Finance Company in Wausau, Wisconsin as a finance specialist, supervising all activities of the finance unit while on active duty and as field first sergeant. In 1978, he was awarded the Milwaukee Journal Outstanding Achievement Award after competing against soldiers from units statewide. Whereas in 1984, Gerald was assigned to Fort Gillem in Forest Park, Georgia, as a finance specialist. He was then promoted to first sergeant and transferred to Fort McPherson in Atlanta, Georgia, where he assisted with financial requirements for Desert Storm and was granted top security clearance. Whereas in 1990, he was transferred to the 81st Readiness Division in East Point, Georgia. Gerald was awarded the rank of Sergeant Major and served as a finance specialist, overseeing equipment procurement and all financial activities, including legal activities of troops deployed for active duty and in all foreign theaters. And whereas during Sergeant Major Gerald Urmansky's service, he was honored with the Meritorious Service Medal, the Army Commendation Medal, the Army Reserve's Component Achievement Medal with 4 oak leaf clusters, the National Defense Service Medal, the Armed Forces Reserve Medal with 1 hourglass, the NCO Professional Development Medal with 3rd level insignia, and the Army Services Ribbon. Now therefore I, Kurt M. Wilson, Mayor of the City of Roswell, do hereby name Sergeant Major Gerald Urmansky, an esteemed veteran of Roswell, and call upon all citizens to recognize his outstanding service to our country and to our community, and that there is no higher calling than those who have served in the United States Armed Forces. Sergeant Major, the mic is yours, sir.
Well, if you give me a couple of minutes, I can tell you just some interesting stories. My term of service is easy to remember. I got in on April 1, April Fool's Day, and I got out on April 15, which is traditional income tax day. So, 29 years, 15 days.
I got out of school in 1967, and like so many other people my age, I did not wish to go to Vietnam. I was 1A with the draft board, which means you are physically and emotionally ready to go. And I was told I would be going in May. I graduated in January. I was going to get called in May. So I scoured around and found a National Guard unit that took me in for a year. While I was there, went through combat engineer training, and combat engineer training is the kind of stuff where you build things, you blow up things, and you work as a foot soldier. But when I got back to my unit, the cities around the country were burning, just like Jefferson, Missouri was a few years ago, and Portland, Oregon. And my unit was scheduled to go to Milwaukee from northern Wisconsin to Milwaukee to assist with riot control. And what we would do is we'd go in a V formation and try to break up the rioters. Well, guess who was the point person? It was me. I was the point person. Didn't like that idea, but fortunately, we did not have to go. After a year, I transferred to Milwaukee and got very fortunate, got into a training unit where, as the mayor said, I held various positions. And after about 6 or 7 years there, I moved to Wausau, Wisconsin. Now, the interesting thing about that is back then in Milwaukee, we went to weekend meetings and 2 Wednesday nights a month. And on one Wednesday night a month, I cut my renewal orders for 1 year. The following day, I went to work and got a call that said, "We want you to come work in the home office." I called up my Army Reserve unit and they said, "We're sorry, you cut the order, you're in. Find a place." So I went to Wausau, got into the finance unit, and had probably 10 or 11 wonderful years there. From there, I took a transfer to Atlanta, and now I had 17 years. And at that point, the Army just cuts you free. I mean, you got to find a place. So I'm coming into a new town. I don't know a soul in town. We employed a realtor who had sold 3 houses. And as it turned out, her husband was a captain in the Army Reserve at Fort Gillem. And it was kind of a quid pro quo. He had a person in the same grade and the same job that I had, and that person was being moved to Fort McPherson. So the quid pro quo was, buy a house from me, and my husband will get you right into the reserve unit, which he did. So I sat there for a while and, worked as a grade E7, then moved over to Fort McPherson as a grade 8. Ultimately got promoted to grade E9 in the reserves over at 81st Army Reserve Command. And I stayed there until the unit was closed. So I would have stayed in for another 2 years had they not closed the unit, but they closed it, and that was the end of my career. For those of you who don't know much about the Army Reserve, what you basically are doing is you write a check to the government that says, "Take me when you want me." So you sit back and you wait and see if they want you. And if they don't want you, you don't go. If they want you, you go. I was very fortunate. I missed Vietnam. And by a stroke of luck, by moving from Fort McPherson to the 81st Army Reserve Command, I also missed Desert Storm because had I stayed in the 3rd Army, they packed up about 3 months after I moved on, and the rest is history. So that's it.
Let's have the family come up. Ladies and gentlemen, Sergeant Major Romanski.
We were at Force Con, so we've done all the buildings, but I was at Force Con. So yeah, thank you for your service.
Hey, you guys can stay with me. You don't have to leave. Unless you want to. The next item on the mayor's report is a proclamation for Veterans Day. Proclamation, Office of the Mayor, Veterans Day 2023. Whereas in 1921, the unknown soldier was buried on a Virginia hillside in Arlington National Cemetery overlooking the Potomac River in the city of Washington, D.C. The site of this burial in Arlington National Cemetery symbolizes the dignity and reverence of Americans' veterans. Whereas these memorial gestures took place in England and France on November the 11th, giving universal recognition to the celebrating of ending of World War I at 11 a.m. on November the 11th, 1918. Whereas on May 13th, 1938, Congress declared that the 11th day of November each day will be a legal holiday, a day to be dedicated to the cause of world peace, and a day of celebration to honor America's veterans for their patriotism, their love of country, their willingness to serve, and the sacrifice for the common good. Whereas Veterans Day is a day to thank our veterans for their service to our country and acknowledge their contributions to our national security, we would like to honor those who have served and sacrificed for our country today, November the 11th, and every day. Whereas the city of Roswell would like to thank and acknowledge our employees who are veterans and an extended appreciation to those who continue to serve in the reserves. And if you're in this audience and you're one of the people I call, I would ask you to stand up. Christopher Archer, Bang Bang, United States Army. Robert Attica, Shan Ballasty, Juan Banks, Jonathan Berlin, Eric Blazer, John Bowman, Aaron Boyd, Emil Broman, Zachary Brown, R. Browning, Calson Brunner, Adrian Bird, Matthias Codwalder, Dwayne Campbell, Matthew Carney, Michael Carter, Nicholas Carter, Jesse Cash, Thomas Chandler, Nicholas Kamar, Boyd Colley, Patrick Collier, Patrick Conaway, Milton Cotton, Angel Criollo Guterres, Derek Crowder, Taylor Davis, Theodore Desrose, Christopher Dess, Eric Dixon, Jason Dooley, Thomas Dunn, Chad Edwards, Jason English, Eric Evans, Christopher Evans, David Faraball, Marcos Fernandez, Joseph Fortunato, Kevin Gettins, Ronald Gooden, Maya Goolsby, Marcus Graham, Kevin Green, William Hood, Antoine Hughes, Jacob Hughes, Alame Igwe, Jeffrey Ives, Gary Johnson, Patrick Kelly, Jordan Kingston, Philip Kutnick, Arthur Lewis, Jason Lewis, Jeffrey Littlefield, Stephanie Littman, Jacob Long, Deanna Masters, Garrett Maxidon, Willie McCluskey, David McNamara, Kendrick McRae, Jeff Mailer, Aaron Moorhead, Joseph Moss, William Murtha, Guy Peters, Nicholas Pizzello, Rico Poole, Destiny Presswood, Kianda Pritchett, Richard Reed, Gerald Reisinger, Richard Reinhardt, Jonathan Richards, Linnea Rivard, Sergio Rossi, Roberto Sanchez, Samantha Saunders, Stanley Scholes, Michael Schrout, Pearson Singleton, Christopher Smith, Douglas Smith, Nathaniel Smith, Nolan Smith, Joseph Stevens, Stephen Stoner, Christian Thomasberger, Jason Vell, Devin Van Vert, Joel Vasquez, Michael Wells, Ronnie Wilkes, Robert Wills, Samuel Wolfson, Alan Yanau. Now therefore, I, Kurt M. Wilson, Mayor of the City of Roswell, Georgia, do hereby proclaim November the 11th, 2023, as Veterans Day in the City of Roswell, and urge all citizens to recognize the sacrifices and dedication of our veterans today and throughout the year, In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Roswell to be affixed this 30th day of October, 2023. Thank you to all veterans for your service. All right, the next item on the mayor's report is the swearing in of new staff and newly promoted staff for the Roswell Fire Department. Chief Joseph Penino, would you please come forward, sir?
Everyone hear me on this microphone? I've got a lapel mic. If you can't hear me, I'll use that
I can't
mic.
hear you on the TV. Yeah. We can go louder, Chief.
Okay.
Okay.
You assure me it's going to work?
You want to get rid of it?
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
Hands free.
I don't blame you.
Okay. Try to not be in the way. So good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Panino, Fire Chief here at the City of Roswell, and it's a distinct honor and a privilege to be here tonight representing the men and women of the Roswell Fire Department. First, I would like to thank Mayor Wilson and all of the council members for their continued support and investment in the Roswell Fire Department. If not for that and the support of the entire Roswell community, we wouldn't be here tonight. So tonight marks a significant milestone not only for our department, but also for the city of Roswell, as we formally induct 15 exceptional individuals into our leadership team. This occasion is not merely a point of pride for these dedicated professionals and their families, but it's cause for celebration for our entire community. So I'll now introduce them to you. First, we welcome Lieutenant Jimmy Staples. Lieutenant Staples has been a valued member of the Roswell Fire Department for 13 years, part-time, and has been in the fire service for 30 years. He has an associate's degree from Columbia Southern University and previously served as a battalion chief for DeKalb County Fire Rescue. He is a certified rope rescue technician, confined space technician, trench technician, swiftwater technician, advanced search and recovery diver, structural collapse technician, and is a Georgia smoke diver. Fun fact about Lieutenant Staples is he used to be a bull rider. Welcome, Lieutenant Staples. Next, we have Lieutenant Chris Spruill. Lieutenant Spruill has been in the fire service for 12 years and comes to us from Johns Creek. He has served as a firefighter and fire apparatus operator. He has received numerous awards such as the Employee of the Year, 2 rescue awards, and 1 life safety award. He's a swiftwater technician, hazmat technician, trench technician, confined space technician, structural collapse technician, rope rescue technician, live fire instructor, and a Georgia smoke diver. Lieutenant Spruill enjoys boating, camping, watching kids' sports, and UGA football. Welcome, Lieutenant Spruill. Next, we have Lieutenant Alan Pippin. Lieutenant Pippin previously worked for the Roswell Fire Department part-time. He's a certified paramedic and joins Team RFD from the Rome Fire Department, where he held the rank of sergeant. He's been in the fire service for 7 years and has served on the Georgia Search and Rescue Team and as a rope and swiftwater technician. Outside of work, Lieutenant Pippin enjoys taking his son backpacking, hiking, saltwater fishing, and whitewater kayaking. He also was a bull rider for 17 years. Believe it or not, I'm not making it up. Welcome, Lieutenant Pippin. Yep. Next, please welcome Lieutenant Tony Pardinas. Lieutenant Pardinas has been in the fire service for 10 years, previously serving as a master firefighter in DeKalb County Fire Rescue and a firefighter 2 with the City of Gainesville Fire Department. Lieutenant Pardinas holds numerous hazardous materials certifications, was on the hazardous materials team in DeKalb, and was responsible for teaching hazardous materials courses in Gainesville. When off duty, he enjoys riding his motorcycle in the North Georgia mountains. Welcome, Lieutenant Pardinas. Next, we welcome Lieutenant Chelsea McDonald. Lieutenant McDonald has been a firefighter paramedic with the Roswell Fire Department for 3 years, has been in the fire service for 6, and joins us from the City of Milton Fire Department, where she was a member of their strategic planning committee. She's an ACLS and BLS instructor, Swiftwater rescue technician, is a certified fire inspector, and is certified in ICS 300, 400, and Blue Card Incident Command. She's the recipient of a Unit Citation Award in 2021, Firefighter of the Year in 2019, and was recognized for saving a Roswell Home Depot worker last year who was impaled by a 5-foot-long pry bar. Paramedic McDonald provided care on scene and accompanied the patient into surgery at the request of hospital staff. Lieutenant McDonald has a Bachelor's of Science and is pursuing a master's degree in public administration from Valdosta State University. Go Blazers. When off duty, she enjoys watching UGA football. Welcome, Lieutenant McDonald. Next, we have Lieutenant Kevin Gettins. Lieutenant Gettins previously worked for the Roswell Fire Department and has been in the fire service for 9 years. He comes to us from DeKalb County Fire Rescue as a fire apparatus operator. Lieutenant Gettins is certified as a rope rescue technician and a confined space technician. He's a U.S. Navy veteran and earned the Navy Achievement Medal, serving from 1993 to 1999. Welcome, Lieutenant Gettins. Next is Lieutenant Tyler Fuller. Lieutenant Fuller has also been in the fire service for 9 years, previously serving as a lieutenant with the Rockdale County Fire and Rescue. He successfully completed the Georgia Smoke Diver program and holds certifications as a rope technician, confined space technician, swiftwater technician, and wilderness search and rescue. When not at work, he enjoys spending time with family and competing in jiu-jitsu. Welcome, Lieutenant Gettins. Fuller, sorry. Oh, sorry. Lieutenant James DeRose. Lieutenant DeRose has been in the fire service for 14 years, has previously worked for the Roswell Fire Department and as a lieutenant for Rockdale County Fire Rescue. Lieutenant DeRose has specialized training in drone operations, is a certified live fire instructor, is certified in vehicle extrication and technical rescue, and has received numerous awards for service excellence. When he's off duty, Lieutenant DeRose enjoys spending time with his family and friends on Lake Lanier. Welcome, Lieutenant DeRose. Lieutenant Alex Davis. Lieutenant Davis has been in the fire service for 7 years, previously serving as a lieutenant for Rockdale County Fire Rescue. When he started in the fire service, he received the Rookie of the Year award because of his passion for teamwork. Lieutenant Davis is certified in technical rescue, is a confined space technician, trench rescue technician, swiftwater technician, and specializes in vehicle extrication. When he's not at work, he enjoys time with family, doing yard work, and riding motorcycles. Welcome, Lieutenant Davis. Next up, we have Fire Captain Gary Steck. Captain Stack has been with the Roswell Fire Department for 4 years part-time and has been in the fire service for 17 years, previously serving as a firefighter, paramedic, apparatus operator, and a captain for DeKalb County Fire Rescue. He has received numerous awards during his time in the fire service, including an Exceptional Merit Award and an Exceptional Duty Award for rescuing fire victims. He holds a Bachelor of Science and is a certified technical rescue diver, confined space rescue technician, trench rescue technician, rope rescue technician, structural collapse rescue technician, fire officer 2, and fire instructor. Away from work, Captain Stack enjoys recreational diving. Welcome, Captain Stack. Next, we have Captain Tony Wachowski. Captain Wachowski has been in the fire service for 19 years and has worked for the Roswell Fire Department since 2019. Previously with the city of Johns Creek, Captain Wachowski is a certified paramedic, has a bachelor's degree from the University of West Georgia, and has specialized training as a swiftwater rescue technician, public safety diver, and a hazardous materials technician. He's the recipient of the American Heart Association CARES Award, Swiftwater Unit Citation, and Firefighter of the Quarter. When he's not working, Captain Wachowski enjoys spending time with his wife, being a cheer dad for his 8-year-old daughter, and teaching his 4-year-old son sports. Welcome, Captain Wachowski. Next is Captain Keith Snyder. Captain Snyder, also known as Doc, has been in the fire service for 28 years and with the Roswell Fire Department part-time for 23 years. Captain Snyder joins us from Cobb County Fire, where he has served as a battalion chief for the past 7 years. Captain Snyder has an extensive certification list that includes Chief Fire Officer and Chief Training Officer certifications through the Center for Public Safety Excellence. He's a hazardous materials specialist and is certified in Blue Card Command, Fire Officer 4, and Instructor 2. He has a bachelor's degree from Eastern Oregon University and has many professional awards and citations, including several life-saving awards, customer service awards, and has been the Firefighter of the Year at the Roswell Fire Department twice, and as recently as last year. When he's not at work, he enjoys watching football, martial arts, and spending time with his wife and daughter. Welcome back, Captain Snyder. Captain Brian Thomas. Captain Thomas is our first administrative captain of logistics. He joined the Roswell Fire Department from Cherokee County Fire and Emergency Services, where he served as a sergeant paramedic and as the department's logistics manager. Captain Thomas has 28 years of experience in public safety and brings with him a wealth of experience and an in-depth knowledge of asset management systems. When he's away from work, Captain Thomas enjoys spending time with his son, daughter, and 2 stepdaughters. Welcome, Captain Thomas. Next, we welcome Captain Chris Archer. Captain Archer is the Roswell Fire Department's newest deputy fire marshal. Captain Archer joined Team RFD last year as the department's first ever fire and life safety plans examiner. He's been in the fire service for 18 years and holds certifications as a firefighter, EMT, fire inspector, fire investigator, NFPA plans examiner, and is a certified peace officer. Captain Archer was an infantry fire team leader in the U.S. Army and an infantry squad leader in the Georgia National Guard. He has an associate's degree in fire science and enjoys spending time with his family when he's not at work. Congratulations, Chris Archer. Last but certainly not least, we welcome the City of Roswell's first Division Chief of Emergency Management, Lauren Linville. Chief Linville will serve as the city's first emergency management coordinator and brings a wealth of experience and expertise to this important role. With over 18 years of service in the United States Coast Guard, where she achieved the rank of Lieutenant Commander, she has a strong background in emergency response and disaster management. Her appointment comes with valuable experience as she responded to Hurricanes Harvey, Irma, Maria, and Matthew. She was also part of the Coast Guard's COVID-19 response as the Deputy Chief of Operations and was deployed as a planning section chief during Hurricane Dorian. Chief Linville holds an executive master's degree in public administration and possesses a comprehensive array of certifications, including Emergency Management Officer Specialty Code with the U.S. Coast Guard, Planning Section Chief, Situation Unit Leader, Resource Unit Leader, Demobilization Unit Leader, and Documentation Unit Leader. In addition to her practical experience, Lauren is a faculty member at the Florida International University, where she plays a key role in shaping disaster recovery curriculum for future leaders. Welcome, Chief Linville. All right, in a moment, we will invite immediate family members to join us in the front for the official pinning ceremony. As we pin these badges on our new fire officers today, we're not merely attaching an insignia, we are entrusting them with a legacy of responsibility and leadership. The badge, adorned with the speaking trumpets, sometimes referred to as bugles, symbolizes a history that is steeped in courage and a commitment to public service. The speaking trumpets are an age-old sign of authority from a time when fire chiefs used them to amplify their commands on the fire ground. Today, they remind us that these officers are not just leaders, but communicators, responsible for guiding their teams effectively and safely in high-stakes situations. So as we invite you up to pin these badges, we're affirming these officers' readiness to uphold the high standards of the fire service and to contribute to our vision of being a world-class public safety organization. So please come up and pin your family members. Come on. Come on up. You got it. Come on up. Excuse me. Now I'd like to invite Mayor Kurt Wilson up to administer the oath of office. After we administer the oath, family and our new fire officers are welcome to go outside back to the front steps where we can congregate, talk, and take some more pictures if you'd like.
So Chief Panino. Chief Panino has promised me that you've all memorized this and that I don't have to do anything. Good, Chad. It's a good place. Congratulations, guys. So proud of you. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support and protect the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Georgia, that I will bear true faith, loyalty, and allegiance to the same, that I am entitled to hold office under the Constitution and laws of the state of Georgia and the charter of the city of Roswell, and that I will faithfully perform all of the duties of the position, state your position, in the city of Roswell, upon which I'm about to enter, so help me God. Congratulations, everyone. right, don't go anywhere. We got one more exciting thing to do, which I'm very, very pleased and delighted to be inviting the next gentleman up. The next item on the mayor's report is a presentation by Roger Wise. Roger, would you please come forward along with Philip Carroll, the chairman of the Roswell Motoring Festival. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. May we have Christine? Would you come down and join us? Mr. Carroll is in charge of the Roswell Motoring Festival. And this year, you were kind enough to allow him to use City Hall and the complex. There that day was our Mayor Pro Tem representing the city. So Mr. Carroll would like to say something to the city, each of the elected officials. Philip, it's all yours.
Well, thank you, Roger, and thank you, Christine, and Mayor Wilson, and all of our distinguished council members and guests. On behalf of the children of St. Jude, we're very, very pleased and want to thank you for letting us use the property and all the facilities. And we are proud to report we raised thousands this year. This was our 4th year, and we hit our goal, and we're very, very pleased. And just want to thank you. And should it work out next year, it will be first Saturday, October 5th. And so please mark your calendars, save the date, and we'll all see you there next year. Thank you all.
Thank you. Philip. Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Christine, for being there. Philip, thank you for your great work on behalf of St. Jude's, and we'll see you again next year. Absolutely, 110%. Thank you so much. The last item under the mayor's report is upcoming events and some other announcements. I'm going to turn over to my colleague, Councilmember Lee Hills, to share with us some of the upcoming events.
Thank you, Mayor Wilson. There's always a lot going on in Roswell, especially in the fall. I love talking about Roswell365.com because it's where you can go to find out what's happening in Roswell. If you own a local business or are doing something in your private sector that you'd like to offer to the public, or you simply want to find out what's going on in Roswell that you can participate, please log on to Roswell365.com. Also, if you want to post something on there, you may, if it's something that serves the Roswell community. So take a peek at that, enjoy it, use it, load it up, and we will look forward to seeing you around about in Roswell. Also want to point out November 3rd, Friday, November 3rd through Sunday, November 5th, we have another round of Irish Fest Atlanta 2023. Quite a few of my colleagues and I participated last year and had a grand time. This is the 11th annual Irish Fest Atlanta, and it's celebrating Irish culture and is returning to historic Roswell next weekend. Featuring 2 Irish bands, Dervish and the Ashley Davis Band, and the festival offers a taste of Irish culture, including music, dance, culinary experiences, and more. Irish Fest is partnering with the Roswell Cultural Arts Center this year, offering a first-class experience for the concert attendees. Other ticketed events include curated events featuring Irish tea with Irish chefs and the Consulate General of Ireland. I participated in that last year particularly, and it was fantastic. Great community, great learning experience, and just all-around fun. Please check out Roswell365.com and search Roswell CAC for that, or irishfestatlanta.org, and you can get more information on the ticketed items and the timing for the other events going on. Jumping back to the earlier proclamation that our mayor proclaimed, we have Veterans Day coming up, and we will have a ceremony again this year. So all of our veterans and families thereof, as well as friends that just want to support our veterans, are invited to join us at Roswell Area Park on Saturday, November the 11th, beginning at 9 a.m. You can join us in honoring our veterans. The City of Roswell will have a Veterans Day program at Roswell Area Park, and will begin at 9 a.m. at the Roswell Area Park Pond. There will be an honor walk to begin at 9:15 with the ceremony honoring our veterans. Also, there will be several golf carts and staff available to get anyone to and from the parking area as needed. And guess what? You can find out all that information on Roswell365.com. one more item. It's hard to believe because it's so nice out right now and turning chilly tomorrow. We're talking about the holidays. Deck the Square is back. Deck the Square is a dazzling display of 50 community-decorated trees at historic Town Square. This will be the second year, and the City of Roswell invites local organizations, individuals, families, businesses, and schools to participate in this free opportunity. We provide a 6-foot tree and electrical access, and your group provides the lights, decoration, and creativity to turn your tree into a sparkling celebration of your organization. The deadline to apply is November 17th. If you missed this last year, you've got to go this year. It's amazing. It's a lot of fun. You can check out local restaurants and wander over through the trees. Just a nice way to get in the mood for the holidays. Guess what? You can visit roswell365.com for applications and search Deck the Square. Finally, my colleague...
Time's running out on that, too. Deadline is November 17th.
Yes, deadline is November 17th, so giddy up. It was a huge hit last year.
It was.
I believe we actually added some trees because we had a lot of folks that wanted to participate. And then finally, I have an announcement from my colleague, Councilmember Morthland, regarding Recreation and Parks and an accreditation recently awarded. Sir?
Okay. We're going to brag on the Recreation and Parks Department tonight for their earning of the 5th national accreditation. The City of Roswell Recreation and Parks Historic and Cultural Affairs Department earned its 5th consecutive accreditation through the Commission of Accreditation of Park and Recreation Agencies, the CAPRA, and the National Recreation and Park Association, NRPA. The achievement is continuous with the department's standing as a nationally distinguished park and recreation agency over the last 21 years. The distinguished accomplishment was awarded during the 2023 NRPA Annual Conference. The CAPRA accreditation is the only national accreditation for a park and recreation agency and is a measure of an agency's overall quality of operation, management, and service to the community. As part of the accreditation process, the department had to demonstrate compliance with 154 recognized standards and document all policies and procedures. Congratulations to the Rec and Park staff.
Lee, Will, anybody else? That's it? Okay, very good. All right, that concludes the mayor's report for this evening. Next will be the consent agenda. Just a reminder, we'll do the consent agenda, then we will close this meeting. Yes, sir, Councilmember Palermo.
I would actually like to remove item number 3 from the consent agenda. The reason is because I'm actually going to recuse myself because actually my old house is on one of those streets, not near where there's the need of repair, but just to avoid any perception of concerns and propriety, I do want to recuse myself from item number 3.
Councilor Palermo would like to remove item 3 from the consent agenda. Is there a motion to do such? Motion to. Thank you. Seconded. Anybody else? Seconded by Councilman Morthland. All in favor of moving item 3 from the consent agenda, please raise your hands. Passes unanimously. Item 3 is removed from the consent agenda. Thanks, Councilor Palermo. Before I get to the consent agenda, just want to remind everybody, after this meeting will be the open mic meeting. So the consent agenda will be the next item. Then there'll be a vote for closure that will occur after the open comment meeting. So one item left. It's the consent agenda. With the exception of item 3, would you like to address item 3 first, which is the approval to accept a change order to the FY 2023 road resurfacing project to add 2 streets in needs of repairs? Lee, would you like? Yes, sir. Councilor Palermo?
Again, I'm going to recuse myself because I still have my old house, which is not near these resurfacing, but it is the same road. So I'm going to step outside until this item is covered.
Okay. All right. Any item, Lee, since I've got the consent agenda up, I'll go ahead and take item 3 off. Would you like to bring a motion up on item? Would you like any comment or discussion on item 3 on the consent agenda? Which is the approval to accept a change order to FY 2023 road resurfacing project to add 2 streets in needs of repairs.
Unless anybody has any comment, I'd like to move to accept item 3, approval to accept a change order to the FY 2023 road resurfacing project to add 2 streets in need of repairs.
Would you like to make a motion?
I would like to motion.
A motion is made by Councilmember Hills. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Councilmember Beeson. All in favor of the item? Oh, sorry. Let me ask for any discussion. Is there any comments or discussion on item number 3 from any Roswell residents? Thanks very much. Bring it back to council. There's been a motion. There's been a second. Let me go ahead and take the vote. All in favor of passing approved number 3 on the consent agenda, please raise your hands. Item passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next item is the consent agenda. Councilmember Palermo, would you like to rejoin us, sir? Thank you for your swift and quick departure and return. While Councilmember Palermo is walking up, does the council have any questions or comments regarding items 1, 2, and 4 on the consent agenda? Thank you. If not, are any Roswell residents have any comments on items 1, 2, or 4 on the consent agenda? Being that they're not, I bring it back to council. Do I have a motion to approve items 1, 2, and 4 on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Councilmember Hills. There's a motion. Do I have a second? Second by Councilmember Northland. All in favor of approving items 1, 2, and 4 on the consent agenda, please raise your hands. And items pass on 1, 2, and 4 on the consent agenda. Thanks very much. City Attorney Davidson, would you read your item under the City Attorney's report?
Thank you, Mayor. The only item I have is a recommendation for closure to discuss personnel litigation and real estate.
And to be clear, this will happen after, not after this meeting, but after the open forum meeting.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, City Attorney Davidson. Do I have a motion for closure? Motion for closure by Councilmember Hall. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilmember Hills. All in favor of closure, please raise your hands. Motion for closure passes unanimously. Being that there are no other items in this particularly special called meeting, I now ask for adjournment. Please, anybody, motion for adjournment? Motion by Councilmember Beeson, seconded by Councilmember Hills. All in favor of adjournment, please raise your hands. Adjournment we go. Thank you very much. We will reconvene in just a minute for the open mic meeting. Give us just a minute. I don't have any script. Council open forum meeting of October 30th, 2023. This is the 5th Monday, which means it's open mic night. Just want to remind everybody to please fill out a comment card. There's a 5-minute time limit to your time. Just a special request, and I always appreciate how much everybody stays within this, is please keep your conversations to the person who's ever talking at the mic, or obviously to one of the folks up here. Just keep one conversation in the room. We greatly appreciate that. At this time, I'd like to open up the open mic night, and anybody who would like to come up and speak, I'll raise you. Claire, come on up. Please come on up. Please tell everybody your name and where you live. Okay. Let me see if we can get somebody to help you. Bear with me 1 second. Can anybody help Claire with the overhead? I apologize. Jeff, do we have anybody? So Claire, if you'll tell everybody your name and where you live in Roswell.
My name is Claire Barnes. I live at 19 Revival Street, Roswell.
Thank you. Welcome.
Here we go. Mr. Mayor, many residents and maybe thousands have received this 4-page flyer in the mail. This professional marketing piece has you endorsing 4 city council candidates that supposedly share your vision for Roswell. Unfortunately, there is no name or author, entity, or corporation identified on the mailer except the address of a local Staples and one vision. First, this mailer appears to look like it was sent by the city of Roswell, as it has your picture and addresses you as the mayor on the front of a picture of City Hall, and it discusses the city business of Roswell city business. Did the city of Roswell have anything to do with this, from using city staff, funding, to have this created, printed, or mailed? If not, then did you personally contribute financially, either directly, via a political action committee, or through a shell company? Did a third party like Sear World, who is under contract right now with the city of Roswell, have anything to do with creating, printing, or distributing this mailer? Did any of the current standing City of Roswell council members directly or indirectly know of this or contribute financially to this mailer? Did you, the mayor, approve to have your photo, likeness, and used on this mailer? If not, then who would have access to a high-resolution photo of you to create this mailer? If you did not approve or pay to have this mailer created, then who did you think did it? The use of secret money in politics, also known as dark money, to create a mailer with your portrait and photos of City Hall by an unknown disclosure to influence our city election is deeply concerning. The city of Roswell is managing the city's election along with Fulton County, and transparency about the sources of funding in our municipal elections and candidates and how the money is spent, and is central to the free and fair function of our government. Will you today denounce this mailer and the use of dark money in municipal elections? P.S. Councilwoman Lee Hills, Councilwoman Mike Palermo, and our mayor are covertly and overtly trying to control the outcome of our city council elections. They are engaged in things that have never been done by a sitting council person alone, let a mayor. Mr. Mayor, Mrs. Hills, and Mr. Palermo, there are 9 candidates, not 4. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, Claire. I can respond very simply. I cannot respond to something I'm not a part of or not doing.
8 by 10 glossy.
Let me say that again. So you can hold it up again. I can't respond to something I'm not a part of or not doing, just to be clear, okay? Does anybody else from council want to address any comments? Okay, thanks very much. Yes, ma'am. Welcome, and just please share with us your name and where you live in Roswell.
I'm also going to need the overhead, so do I just?
Yes, ma'am. If you need some support, would you do me a favor and share with me your name and where you live?
I'm getting ready to, Mayor.
Okay.
Okay, time. Good evening, Honorable Mayor Wilson and City Council members. I am Dr. Melody T. McLeod. I'm an obstetrician, gynecologist, and author, and surgeon. I have lived in Roswell for 28 years, and I am the original owner of my home. I am here regarding code enforcement. Why have a code enforcement department that does not enforce the code? And why have Keystone Cop-like investigative practices and procedures? I remind you of 2 city codes and ordinances. Section 8.1.13F, public nuisance, any animal which makes or causes frequent or long continued noise which disturbs the comfort or repose of any person in the vicinity is hereby declared to be a public nuisance. Section 8.8.3, various types of nuisances, noise, sound which disturbs or causes an adverse psychological or physiological effect on humans, noise disturbance, any sound that disturbs a reasonable person of normal sensitivities. Noise nuisance is the continued acts of such volume, intensity with continued duration so as to distress or disturb the quiet, comfort, or repose, to interfere with the physical well-being of humans. Before I continue, listen. Hear it? Every time. Every time. They're growling. I'm doing is standing on my property. I could go on. That particular recording lasts over 3 minutes. I have dozens of such recordings of my neighbors, two ferociously and incessantly barking and growling dogs. This happens every day, has happened many times a day, all year long. This has gravely affected my health. My blood pressure's up, my pulse is up, I'm not sleeping at night, and you may not care about that part. I am stressed and frazzled. What you care about regarding code is I have lost use, comfort, repose, and enjoyment of my property. On May 17th, I went to code enforcement. I played audios for code enforcement supervisor Jonathan Barber. He said that I'd been very patient from January in writing. He said also that the first time the dog owners would get a notice, and if I have to come back, the second time is when it's time for a citation. That is a quote. Jim and Cindy, my neighbors, finally got a barking collar, which I'd been asking for, and I thought to give the dogs time. August 30th, I returned. I didn't get to see any officers that day, but I let the clerk, I believe her name was Ms. Miller, hear the dogs barking. September 1, I returned again to code enforcement and later called and spoke to an officer, Nathaniel Johnson. He said, well, I have dogs. Dogs bark, you know. I later spoke to Jason Gaines and asked for a meeting. September 6th, I met with Jason Gaines, Jonathan Barber, and that Nathaniel Johnson. There, Barber said, the neighbors say you provoked the dogs. I asked him, really? How? His reply, I didn't ask them that. How does the code enforcement supervisor not ask what I consider a no-brainer follow-up question of how? What did she do to provoke the dogs? Barbara also did say that day, however, that I definitely have a nuisance claim. In that meeting, I told everyone there that invisible fences can fail about 30% of the time. It's well documented, look it up. And while I'm losing my peace of mind, I also don't want to get mauled. I don't feel safe. That Officer Johnson also said, well, you haven't gotten mauled yet. Barbara, so does this have to happen before you issue a citation? Barbara said that the code enforcement had to observe the violation. I said, come to the house, come out and see what happens with the dogs. What they did, they notified the neighbors that they were now back on the case. So of course now the neighbors have put the barking collar on, so they're not getting a clear picture of what's happening with the dogs. Now I've given numerous accounts and evidence of audios to everyone, and I cannot get a citation issued because they have come to let the neighbors know what's happening. So that, and even Mr. Knighton, I met with him on September 30th, he and Attorney Petty, and Knighton came to my home with Johnson, and again, they came to my home after they've notified the neighbors that they were coming back, that they were out on the case. So I don't see why we can't get enforcement.
Thank you, Dr. McLeod, and I'm sorry this has been impacting your health. We truly am.
It has impacted my health greatly, sir. In fact, I was supposed to have a cardiac exam tomorrow, but I couldn't even do it. I had to cancel. I told them I am too stressed out. If I had it done tomorrow, I'd probably be put in the cardiac ICU. Thank you very much for your time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for yours. Yes, sir. Welcome. Do me a favor and just share us with your name and where you live in Roswell. Welcome.
My name's Arthur Usherson. I'm a photographer. Also, I live in Roswell since 2000. I'm a homeowner at Holcomb's Crossing. I have to go on the roadway there. There's a bridge, and it has been neglected for many years. I wish they could take a closer look, and maybe y'all could take a little time to go on Old Holcomb Bridge, which starts at Holcomb Bridge and goes all the way around and follows 400. Okay, the problem is I've been there 23 years, and they've never repaved. And now they haven't restriped where the bridge is totally devoid of any striping. And as you saw in the illustration I photographed at the intersection of Highway 9 and Mansell, which is really the heart of Roswell, I would think. You know, it's well-traveled, and as you can see, there's negligence in that nobody has taken any time to address that there's, it is totally worn out striping, and that's a safety hazard. I mean, I would think that would fall into the reason they have crosswalks with stripes is so people know exactly where they're supposed to walk if they're going to cross the street. A lot of people come and go, and it just looks ugly, and it reflects on Roswellians like you guys. You know, everybody here should be a little more interested in saying things like that improved. So my appeal today, and I've been here 23 years, like I say, and it has been deteriorating the look and feel of this community, and I hope that you'll take it to heart to see that it gets done in a short order.
George, can I ask you a question?
And I'd love to get a picture of you, the mayor, having a paintbrush and a bucket of white paint and getting a crew together and get that on the front page of the Aspen newspaper here.
Oh, I would be glad to get a bucket of paint. Unfortunately, I'd probably make a mess, but I'll still be glad to do it.
Well, you know,
Let me-
whatever they use, you know, I just want to
Can I
make
ask-
sure that people are aware that you're doing something about it.
Can I ask you a question? You mentioned this tonight. Have you reached out to us before tonight? If
No,
not, would you do me?
didn't.
Would you do me?
Yes, I did. Actually, earlier, I did go to transportation a month ago.
Okay.
And I spoke to the lady there. I don't have her name with me.
Would you do me a
but,
favor?
It was a work order, and it hasn't been addressed. Now,
would
you know where the Red Lobster is, right?
I do. Would you do me a favor? Would you send me an email, and I will follow up with Mr. Knighton's team and our Director of
Yeah,
Transportation, and I will respond back specifically
well,
to this specific piece.
Okay.
I promise.
I appreciate your concern and regard, because it's important that we do work together to use some of that money that we're paying in taxes to do simple things that make a difference, and it affects everybody here. You know, everybody doesn't want to see a decay in this community.
100%.
And that's what we're seeing, especially on Old Holcomb Bridge Road. It really has needs for your attention and some kind of remedy to make it what it should be.
If you'll email me, we will follow up, and I'll tell
give
you.
you my card.
Okay, good. And I'll tell you exactly where we stand and what's going to happen and what the timetable is.
We don't have paint. We have paint, don't we?
You're talking about paving as well, though, correct?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'll have to come by and
Please.
put it on Facebook.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you so much for your comments. Yes, sir. Did you make sure you get your stuff? Thank you, Arthur. Thank you, sir. Welcome, sir.
Hello, my name is Phil Lunny. I live in Martin's Landing, Roswell, Georgia. I call him a rookie. I've been here 37 years. I just happened on October 29th, 2023, a posting that I did showed up 10 years ago, October 29th, 2013. And at the time, I was complaining mainly about the Holcomb Bridge sidewalk between Martin's Landing entrance and what's now Cortlandt Park. There wasn't one. Now, it only took about 5 years, but we got that done. But let me share this. A 4-mile walk from my house along River Walk for 2 miles. After 2 miles, I go to City Hall. Roswell is a great town with parks and rec, as you heard. And I'll go down to the part where basically we have all these amenities for us. the walkers. You were great for my kids, Parks and Rec. I also would like you to switch Parks and Rec to take over our sidewalks because transportation doesn't do them right. And Eves Road, no offense to personal, Eves Road would be a perfect place to say, let transportation and Roswell Rec bid on those so we have a sidewalk that goes that whole quarter of a mile. You know, if somebody's pulling out there after a baseball game, it's a good way to lose yourself. But if you walk past the river park and then go on that dirt path, past your water department, and then go up 18 inches to the side of that 1958 bridge, and then come down to the other end, and there's another dirt path to get to the intersection. And at the intersection, you have those nice handicapped caps on them, but there's no sidewalk. Okay, and you have a telephone pole in the middle of the sidewalk on Route 9. You know, that should be the gateway to our city, and it's a dirty back door. It's a shame. And since you mentioned roads, you know, Oxbow, you did a nice job on both ends of that intersection. What about the road in the middle? It's junky. And you got those plastic things in there. I don't know why they're there. Also, my road, Hillside Drive, hasn't been paved in 37 years. But you did get to Martin's Road, so I'm good with that. But I would also like to comment about Don White and his wife really made a difference in this town. The Riverwalk, starting at the Cobb Circle and going over to the Landing Park, is just about 13 miles. I've walked all of it. So I would think that you could have a half marathon named for Don and a full marathon for Sally, because she gave us our covered bridge. So I would like a few things like that. But I love this town, and thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Lunny. Thank you, sir. Council, does anybody want to address any of the items that are currently being done or on the table on reference to sidewalks and transportation along some of the areas that Mr. Lunny suggested? Councilmember Palermo?
Well, I just wanted to point out his good idea touching really recreation with the sidewalks, although Mr. Littlefield might not have loved losing the responsibility over sidewalks. It's actually how with the bond that was passed, it was the residents voted on the bond that was large amount to recreation in parks and specifically around parks, but a smaller amount to sidewalks, which are going to be filling in a lot of holes, including Riverside Road. So there's the bridge on Riverside Road currently is very dangerous to walk on, as you know, with everywhere that you're walking, and that is going to have a multi-use trail on that bridge on Riverside and a lot of other connections, as well as connecting Old Alabama up and down. So definitely a lot of sidewalk aspects there, and to earlier as well. There is very much on RDOT's radar is the old Roswell, the old Holcomb Bridge. So that's something that's very much top of mind with things they're working on. That was from the earlier speaker, but just wanting to mention that. And frankly, I'm really hoping RDOT can hold GDOT accountable for if they say it's their road and we're not allowed to do what we want with it, then they should be at least making sure it's safe with the crosswalks. And I'm hoping we can hold them accountable to that. And if we can't, then I guess it means we're going to have to get some paint out, as the earlier speaker mentioned, but also some great points from Phil, and definitely appreciate that history.
The poor people using a bus, I mean, they got no sidewalks, they don't have a bathroom. I mean, couldn't we put a porta potty at 400 and Holcomb Bridge? Well, I don't know about you, but I'm on a diuretic, you know. I can only make it halfway down the board. So,
Lee? Yeah, Lee?
Yes, and I'll address Oxbow. So we are The posts that you're talking about are called bollards. They're smaller and so that you don't crash into them and hurt yourself. But those are just placeholders for medians that'll be put in there, I believe, next year. But that's underway now, and a multi-use trail that'll run along the side, the river side there, all the way up to Grimes Bridge. So that's coming, but those were just to kind of get a feel for people to slow down and have a visual marker for those medians. So you're exactly right. Those things are coming. Takes some time for design, but that's on the way as well. And thank you for your concern. Good points.
So I'm going to take a point of privilege because we got two experts here that are behind a part of the implementation of the planning and execution that's been approved by the council, and it's Director Jeff Littlefield of Transportation and Assistant City Administrator Jeff Leatherman. I'm going to ask both of them just to come up for a minute, just because, Phil, you brought up a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of stuff that's actually being done to many of those items, so I just want to kind of give some quick follow-up on that. And really could have addressed Arthur's piece, but I know you don't have the information on the PCI specific related to that specific intersection. That's why I asked him to send me an email so we could follow up with him. But the items that Phil just brought up, there's 4 or 5 I think you can address right now. I think both Jeff and Jeff, can you not? With the sidewalks, yes?
I'll go first and tackle any of the park-related items on behalf of Stephen and myself. As it relates to the river, we'll start there at Don White Park. We are working on the plans to improve Don White Park that will include realignment of the walking trail along that section of the river to help mobility and access, and that dovetails right into the improvements in and around Riverside Road, which Director Littlefield can cover. That also includes improvements to A-Sand Phase 1 and 2, which are currently under construction, and that will expand additional walking trails, both hard surface walking trails and soft surface walking trails in that river corridor. And that will extend over to Riverside Park as well, where we'll be not only redoing the park facilities there in the future, but also improving some of the trail access as part of that road project. That will extend all the way, as the gentleman had described, to the Cobb County line, which was recently improved by transportation. So we do have full access across both the vehicle and pedestrian bridge to the roundabout there that connects us to the National Recreation Area. I'll let Director Littlefield talk about Riverside Road, and then we can cover a couple of the other locations.
Yep. Riverside Road, it's being done as in coordination with the Parks project. It's currently under design, concepts, things going on like that. Oxbow Road, part of the bond projects, it'll pick up at the gravel parking lot for the parks, for the bridge, and go all the way to Grimes Bridge. That'll start sometime next year. We've got Woodstock Road as part of the King Road project. We'll be doing a small portion of the Woodstock Road multi-use trail to get that going, and the rest of that should be happening sometime next year. There's also Hardscrabble Road multi-use trail. There's a lot of multi-use trails, a lot of yes, sir. It'll be a multi-use trail on Oxbow from the parking lot all the way to Grimes Bridge. Narrowing that road, those plastic bollards that you see out there will be eliminated. They're just a temporary measure, as Councilmember Hill stated. It's just to try to slow people down in the interim since we've got the new Oxbow Road intersection open. There's a lot of things going on. We're currently putting in crosswalks, and Jones Bridge started this week.
Actually, Jones Road.
Jones Road, yes,
yep.
Sir. There's a lot of things going on. We recognize the need for crosswalks. We recognize the need for sidewalks, multi-use trails, and there's a lot of things going on with those throughout the city, east and west.
And I'll actually mention as well, so something that that Councilmember Hall had brought up. I can't remember if she brought up last year or if she had brought it up with the previous council, but it's been made easier where any neighborhood that wants to propose for a crossing and just a safer way to cross, any neighborhood it's much easier to request that and ultimately be able to get that in. So for anybody listening, certainly if you see a place where there could and should be a lot safer crossing, there's really a path to be able to turn that into a reality.
Thanks, Mike.
And also Old Alabama, it'll be from the river all the way to Roxburgh. There'll be a multi-use trail. It's underway through planning or construction.
Thank you, Director Littlefield, and thank you, Deputy City Administrator Leatherman. I apologize. Thank you, Phil. All right, yes, ma'am, in the very back. Welcome. welcome. Hope you're doing well tonight. Thanks for coming to be with us.
I didn't think. Hi, I'm Kelly Peters. I live in Shadowbrook, which is off Grimes Bridge.
Welcome, Kelly.
Wait, what? And I heard a lot of what they were saying, which addressed some of the things I was concerned about. I'm here about walkability and sidewalks and the road. So we live off Shadowbrook, and I know a lot of my neighbors who are here tonight too with us. We've been kind of a bee in your ear because we're not too happy about the 400 connection, but we were promised that there was also going to be, what do you call it? What you've been talking about, easement and slowing.
Traffic calming.
Yeah, traffic
Yes, ma'am.
calming. That's what they called it. On down Grimes Bridge, and now that Oxbow's open, which is great to have the connection, there's just been zooming and even more traffic, which was expected, but they said that there would be some traffic calming measures on Grimes Bridge, including, and I didn't really hear the last thing you said, so maybe a crosswalk into that nature area, a way for us to turn on, because we already have a light at our neighborhood, but a way for pedestrians to access the light, to maybe just cross there safely to the pedestrian area. I walk all the time around Roswell. I love it with my children, and it can be kind of dangerous, even just on the sidewalk with the cars zooming in. So I guess I would just like to know more about the Grimes Bridge traffic calming. I know some people are not so happy with the idea of traffic circles, but just any of those ideas, I'd just like to see what we're doing with them, because we've had several meetings. I just want to see how that was going. And also to piggyback on what he said about Don White, just if there's been any update on the sexual assault that happened on August 1st, because I'm also a runner and do a lot of walking at the River Walk. I used to park there because it was easier than trying to get to Riverside in the morning with all the traffic. But I know a lot of runners are really just scared about that. So it seems like you're doing work around Don White, and will that maybe make it safer, like lighter, or I guess just any update, if any of the updates around that park will maybe address the safety issue in that area, because it does go through those. So I guess those are my two things to address. And thank you so much for everything you guys do.
Kelly, let me address the very last item, because I think it's really important. I cannot comment on the case privately or publicly from a legal perspective, and neither can anybody else in the city. What I can tell you is that I feel very comfortable with my wife or any of my four daughters going down there and walking and running. And I can tell you that with full comfort, being a dad of 4 daughters. So I can tell you that. I cannot comment on the case, though, in any shape, manner, or form, and I apologize for that. We're not in a place where we can do that. I do want to address Grimes Bridge, because this council's been very active about it. And we've got some people who've got a lot of expertise on this, along with Director Littlefield. So Grimes Bridge, we negotiated, Michael, you've been in the middle of this, about $10 million for traffic calming.
Which is actually, so that 10.5 million was the largest amount from any T-Splost.
That's right.
Amount.
So tremendous, right? But it's not in fruition yet, because the Grimes Bridge piece is in reality 4 or 5 years down the road. So for us getting that coming to bear is still part of the process. So there are things, but to your point, for us across the city, that's why there's $20 million of sidewalks going in the next couple of years, is because for us, pedestrian safety, slowing down the city and traffic calming measures across the city are the highest priority, because we feel the same way we would do. We want it to be a safer city, a more pedestrian-friendly city, a more bike-friendly city, honestly, a more golf cart-friendly city. We want people to be able to travel where they want to in and out of the city, outside of the major roads, and be able to get there safely. So your concerns are my concerns, and I think the concerns of this entire council. We hear you. Grimes Bridge, and Jeff, you could probably speak to this better than I can, but I will tell you, we did negotiate $10 million of traffic calming measures, but I don't think those are ready to be put into execution, if I remember correctly. Sir, can you address that just a tad real quick?
And while he's coming up, what I wanted to mention too, because you mentioned the roundabouts. So the current plan and the current, I guess I'll just call it a plan that RDOT has, it does not include roundabouts anymore. So the current ones where there was an original a drawing of the potential of roundabouts at 2 neighborhood entrances, and those at those neighborhood entrances, those were removed. Just given based on resident feedback in that area. But with the fact that there's the $10.5 million that's reserved specifically for Grimes Bridge and for traffic calming and to make sure that it's turned into a safer area, that there's definitely a lot of opportunity for you still to
weigh in.
Because
Yeah.
given the fact that the future GDOT bridge is still many years out, there's the time to make sure we do it right for what's going to best benefit all the residents in the community here. And frankly, you mentioned the idea and interest of having, a little median with a crosswalk and a flashing beacon. The beauty is those are actually very low cost. So there are certainly traffic calming aspects that are very expensive and eat up a lot towards the $10.5 million, but doing one of those is a very small amount of money that certainly can help slow some traffic down and make it much safer for pedestrians to cross. So both, I'd say through emails, but through any idea that RDOT ultimately is coming as a recommendation, mayor and council will be voting for, then discussing that. That's going to be at committee meetings. I'm pointing to room 220 over there. And so basically, once there's agreement on what should move to council, ultimately those come to council meetings. I'm not seeking a third term, so I won't be a council member. Next year I'll be a resident and look forward to being an active resident. What I'd say as well is I strongly encourage the mayor and council to have more neighborhood meetings as progress is being made, to have meetings where we have RDOT staff and residents and gathering all that feedback from you and many of your neighbors. But Mr. Littlefield, sorry to steal a little bit of your thunder.
Kelly, yeah, feel free to email constantly. Like we're in that, I can't tell you the volume of emails that I get and that my council colleagues get, and every one of them is treated very seriously internally and discussed. So there's nothing that gets, and so Grimes Bridge, it's a high focus matter. We're just not there yet in terms of traffic calming. We've got the money, but sorry, Jeff, I'll let you address that.
No, we're reevaluating, the entire corridor, looking at different treatments for each of the intersections. We have removed roundabouts at the actual subdivisions, reconsidering, looking at the possibility of putting one at the private school, but everything is being looked at. Of course, walkability is going to be key. Crosswalks, RFBs, things of that nature will definitely be looked at, but it's still at the beginning processes, I guess, since we're reevaluating.
It really is. Thanks, Director Littlefield. Kelly, thank you. Thanks so much. Did you have anything else? Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Welcome.
Thank you for having open forums that give us the opportunity to appear. This seems like a good time to try to get a little bit of clarification. I'm Deborah Zink. I live on Grimes Bridge Landing, which turns off of Grimes Bridge Road. You've heard me before. I was here a year ago when you had an open forum. I'm concerned with what I'm hearing now, that the Grimes Bridge Road improvements are being tied to the express lanes. The improvement project for the Grimes Bridge corridor was a proposed set of calming measures that were discussed in 2020 and 2021. They were approved by the council in 2021 and put into the T-Splost vote that was taken countywide in November of 2021. You'll recall that Oxbow was closed in 2020, and all of the uproar about what was going to happen when Oxbow reopened, and it reopened with realignment and reopened with a traffic light and was going to make the traffic coming through that corridor, particularly from Cobb County, that much worse for those of us on Grimes Bridge Road. Thus, the improvements for the Grimes Bridge Road corridor were put on the front burner in 2021 and voted on. And then we started the process of gaining input. You held a meeting in our community in May of 2022. We provided a lot of input. You came back in May of 2023 with draft proposals that you had issued and looking for more comment. That was a meeting in which there was no opportunity for any exchange. Apparently, I wasn't able to attend that one, but you posted a link for us to provide comments, which many of us did, and with no further response since May of this year. At this open forum last year, a year ago, we asked about this. We asked about the status, and we were told
Mr. Mayor, that your staff would contact our neighborhood, Grimes Bridge Landing, for a meeting, and that was not scheduled. So Oxbow opened the end of June this year, and as we expected, the through traffic through there has increased 5 to 10-fold, with the overwhelming majority of the vehicles having Cobb County license plates. And with that increase has come the noise and the speeding on Grimes Bridge Road all day long, all night long, that we expected. The Grimes Bridge Road neighborhood focus, and that's Grimes Bridge Landing, my little subdivision, as well as those on the street between Oxbow and 400, has been on measures that could be taken to minimize this cut-through traffic through Oxbow and to reduce the speeds. You'll recall that there wasn't the Grimes Bridge Road, and first name Grimes Bridge Road, name for the bridge over 400 was not even named until last summer. So at the time that this was being discussed in council in 20 and 21 and voted on in T-Splost, and our input was being obtained in May of 2022, no one had said that the Express Lane Bridge was going to be a new bridge at the end of Grimes Bridge Road. So we could not have been talking about the Express Lane project at the time.
So
Interrupt as long as I get the rest of my time.
I agree, you should definitely get
Thank
time.
you.
I just want to clarify for the record that it was prior to that it was being discussed, because there was a 2020 meeting. I'm assuming it's 2020 because it was over Zoom. I was up in my my office when we were having Zoom, and there was an individual from GDOT that was talking about just basically the bridge that they were putting on and making it clear, because we had a lot of issues with the impact it was going to have, and that GDOT individual was specifically reminding us that it was their project and they weren't asking us for our permission for it. They were just asking us if we wanted input on how they would make the bridge, some details like that. And that was during the Zoom days, which makes me think that would have been 2020, if not 2021 at the latest.
It was not. The name, specific name was
Oh, the name,
not
right, the name.
released. The
I
actual
agree with you on the
location
name. I'm
and the
talking about the
name of the
location.
road that it would be, the express lanes would run off of, was not released to the public until August of 2022, I believe is correct.
So I can certainly
Might have been known to GDOT and RDOT, but it wasn't known to the community, wasn't known to the neighbors.
So I can definitely provide separately that meeting to see the one I'm looking at. I'm trying to think of the GDOT person's name. But separately, more important, although we disagree on when GDOT was saying the approximate location of when it would be, what I actually agree with you completely on is just the timing aspect, that ultimately we know. So when putting it on, I was one of the people that was really pushing and fighting to get that $10.5 million and have it be which is the #1 largest single item on the whole T-Splost aspect, to calm the traffic there, knowing that GDOT was putting a bridge there. But with that, no matter what, we know the goal is, no matter what period, to calm the traffic, slow it down. So I actually do have thoughts for RDOT and for staff in general, that there's no reason, I don't see what the reason to delay would be, unless there's certain things that GDOT hasn't made their mind up on. And if that's the case, I think we need to try to find out what that is and what we can plan around, because no matter what, there is money that has to be assigned to Grimes Bridge Road, and why wait a couple of years when we can calm it down? So I think we disagree on some of the original timing for when GDOT was publicly discussing some of this.
Mike, I think it goes to a GDOT issue. I think GDOT, Jeff, you tell me if I'm incorrect on this, GDOT has communicated some different things about where the bridge is going to be. I mean, there's still some pieces that have not been absolutely finalized from the last time I heard. Am I incorrect on that?
Yeah, they're talking about possibly shifting
Yeah.
the bridge. I haven't seen that next year. That's probably what we'll find out right now.
Yeah, and they're not asking for our permission on this. This is something they're doing. You
It'll be there, just might be shifted.
Yeah, so I think to kind of your question is that as we get new information, some of our information, like, hey, we were moving down this path, maybe we need to hold off before we move down this path. And Deborah, let me say, I'm happy to come meet with your community and I'm happy to come meet with your community and come bring our team and hear what you all have to say. And like I said, I think part of it is to get as many good ideas as possible on how to spend that money for traffic calming. Because I will tell you, we all are serious about the intent of traffic calming and hear your concerns as it relates to Oxbow and Grimes.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your interest in trying to do something sooner rather than later. 5 years from now doesn't help us with the problem that has beset our neighborhood now with Oxbow open. You know, we were told for years you can't do anything about Oxbow, we've got to finish it. We said, fine, we get that. You finished it, it's opened, and we have the issues with the traffic that we thought we were going to have. I don't see that the traffic calming is that much different. You're not going to do anything different now than you're going to do in preparation for something in 5 years. We've got the problem now.
Well, I'll interrupt you. I will tell you, Jeff, again, so one of the things that we've already done that we have some control over is we have a plan, you probably heard it a minute ago, we're going to narrow the rest of Oxbow Road with the intent of slowing it down. I don't know if you noticed this, but for example, we did the impossible. We got 25-mile-per-hour speed limit on the Oxbow Road extension, which when we took this project over in January 2022 was an impossibility. We got 25 mile per hour there. We're going to continue to put in measures to try to slow down the speed of the traffic so that we can get it related back to the state so we can continue to bring down speed limits. That's the internal conversations, and we're serious about that, and that we are going to narrow the rest of Oxbow Road. That's why you see the things that I've heard some legitimate criticism about, but we are trying to do things to slow down traffic because I hear you loud and clear. We're on the same page.
I think that the traffic is moving at a reasonable pace on Oxbow. It's on Grimes Bridge Road that it is flying.
100%.
And we think, 25 mile an hour in respect of the school, the lane narrowing. We talked about rumble strips and so forth, and particularly at the
100%.
Grimes Bridge Landing intersection. And I'd like to see what the new plans are that have taken the roundabouts out, if we could have that made available to us. But at our intersection, the consensus in our neighborhood is put a three-way stop there. It's inexpensive, it's quick, and it gets the traffic used to stopping. It introduces to them that there's something going on there, they've got to slow down, and then they're going to start up again. It's a big help right now.
Do me a favor, send me an email, I'll set up a meeting, we'll come see you. Fair enough? Deborah?
Fair enough. Just in closing, we appreciate what you're doing to try to help with Oxbow. It was a problem that you inherited. I've been a Roswell resident for 37 years, and I can't tell you what Oxbow looked like when I moved to Grimes Bridge Landing 37 years ago, and what Grimes Bridge Landing and what Holcomb Bridge Road looked like 37 years ago. Maybe none of you lived here, but these were tiny little roads. But the reopening of Oxbow has done exactly what we were afraid it was going to do in terms of exacerbating the traffic problems on Grimes Bridge Road and the speed through that corridor. Oxbow Road parallels government parkland and city parkland for approximately 2 miles. And Grimes Bridge Road is just a little 2-lane residential street that has 2 schools on it. It tails into a daycare center at the end. There's a senior center and an aquatic center that's well
Deborah, I
attended.
got to cut you off, I'm sorry. Time's up.
In her defense, I actually was
No,
interrupting her.
we turned it off the whole
Oh,
time.
you did turn it off
We
that
turned
time?
it off.
I have 2 more sentences, if I may, please.
2 sentences.
Two sentences. We got no destinations on Grimes Bridge Road. Nobody drives on Grimes Bridge Road other than to go through from one place to the other, or if you live there. And in my neighborhood, I can't even cut down a tree without having to get a permit, but yet we're letting the traffic go through there and pollute the noise, the air, the water. It's a danger to those of us walking on the sidewalks. It's a danger to people
Yes,
trying
ma'am.
to get their mail out of their mailbox.
Thank you, Deborah.
I appreciate
Send me an email.
you hearing me.
Yes, ma'am, send me
Thank
an
you, sir.
email. Would you?
I'll do that.
Okay.
And Mayor?
Yes, sir.
So I actually have a question off a good idea that I just heard as well. Question for either Mr. Littlefield or Mr. Davidson. So she brought up the 25-mile-an-hour zone, and I'm definitely aware of Georgia state law, which I can't stand, that it takes away local control, and we don't get to choose the speed limits on our
However, have you
things.
noticed, there's 25-mile speed limits on Magnolia, on Oxbow Road extension. Yes, sir, go ahead.
And I'm hoping that we can get GDOT approval of it where we can fully enforce it as strict as we can. But here's actually my legal question regarding it, because there is a school there, as Deborah mentioned, and I believe currently Roswell only has the ability to put 25-mile-an-hour flashing zone for any school, and then therefore legally would be able to fully enforce it. So that's a
Michael, I'm not sure about
Okay,
the
so it's a
answer to that
follow-up
question. We've
question for
asked that
staff.
question internally, and we need to follow up on that. I can't remember, we have pursued that question before. thank you for bringing it back up. I don't remember where that question landed, and I'm glad you brought it up because it's a really good idea.
Because I would absolutely love to see these schools on Grimes Bridge and many other similar locations, the opportunity to have that 25-mile-an-hour flashing zone. So I think that's a great idea that was brought up. Among the others, and certainly hoping that RDOT can be figuring out what parts of traffic calming for Grimes Bridge is irrelevant of what possible shift GDOT might make.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Deborah. Mr. Zach, sorry, I'll get to you just to make Jason. Mr. Zach, welcome. Welcome back to the hallowed halls of City Hall.
Thank you. I think I'm going to be pretty painless today.
So Chris is our former IT director. We miss Chris. Welcome back,
Right.
Chris. Share with everybody your name and where you live.
I'm Christopher Zach. I live at 350 Tyson Circle on East Roswell. Very proud. I want to thank you guys for the service you do. It sucks. You guys don't get paid enough. It's not a fun job. I think people come up here, myself included, and go and ask a lot for you and ask you to solve a lot of hard problems. And if people don't know, you guys get paid $20,000 a year, Mayor. I think you get a little bit more. So
$2,000 raise.
Oh, heck yeah. So, you know, I both say that a lot of respect to that. There's an election coming up. I don't know how that's going to look, but I kind of want to bring up some more problems that at least I see and not take for granted because you guys don't get paid enough to solve all the problems you have. So I left the city, obviously, a couple months ago because I didn't like how the organization was being ran, and I'll talk to that in a little bit. But one thing I want to bring up, and this is coming from others, is the finance of the cities. Finance of the city. I've heard and looked into at least enough that people are concerned, or internally people are concerned that the money is going to be gone in January and that there's going to be services that are going to be lost because of it. So I won't quantify that, but for you in next council, I think that is a concern that needs to be looked into is the finances of the city. The second piece is on the bond project. I've had people tell me that it's already projected to be over budget. So another big issue you guys have, we have a $200 million debt that people are concerned is already over budget, plus with the operational expense. So I'll kind of leave it on that for the finance side. On the operational side, again, I came to the city. I wanted to do good, and I got to the point where I thought internally I wouldn't have the capabilities to do so. So I left, and I think you guys are seeing a lot of my colleagues are doing the same, and there's still some here who don't have the privilege to find a place to land. So I don't really want to go into specifics, although I do want to kind of propose some questions, both for current council and if there's new council in January, to think about, because you guys, don't get paid enough. That's why you have the staff, but unfortunately you do have power over the staff. So I'm going to ask these questions and hopefully lead to some thoughts, and we'll see where it goes. All right, let's see. Why did the finance director and the purchasing manager quit within a week of each other? Was everyone in senior leadership position have the qualifications for their current role? What is the turnover rate for staff this recent year? Did everyone in senior leadership role go through an interview process, were picked based on their merits, and weren't pre-selected? Has there been any reports of or discussions of discrimination about any members of senior leadership? Is there an organizational chart change? Who benefited from it? Who designed it? How does staff leadership make their decisions? Who's involved in the decision-making process? What positions are being prioritized to fill? And what strategy is there for role creation and merit increases? And I think I'll leave it at that. So hopefully I've raised some questions that people could look into and come up with their own conclusions. And again, these problems are above your pay grade. I don't know if I put it that way. You guys are asked to do too much, and this is just another one of them. And best of luck to you guys, and I appreciate the work you're doing.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for your time.
So I'll address a couple things. I cannot and will not discuss anything specific to personnel or individuals. What I can tell you is that the city has been embarked upon a Reinvent Roswell initiative And what that entails is a very hard look at the entire organization in order to ultimately best serve the residents of Roswell. That entails a number of different things. That entails looking at our policies and procedures, our inner workings, our organizational structure. It takes a look at how we communicate internally as well as externally, and how we can develop an organization that truly is efficient and effective in how we deliver services. Now, with that organizational assessment, there comes change. And in order for us to be the organization that moves toward being the #1 family community in America, that does take a real hard look and scrutiny at how we deliver services. And any organization that wants to better itself should always be in the mode of self-evaluation, which our organization is currently undertaking. And I am quite confident that ultimately we will develop an organization that will provide a higher level of service, a more effective level of service, and be able to communicate at a much greater scale than we currently do now. I will say that I have been in local government for 30 years, and we have in this organization the best, and I do mean the best, staff members, team members that I have ever experienced. And that's experienced in both Florida and Georgia, cities and counties. I will also say that because we are taking a real close look at how we deliver services, there have been a number of benefits that have resulted. We have developed certain strategies of how we're going to redesign even City Hall, and how we are able to address the needs of our residents more profoundly, more specifically, in a more detailed manner. And so I would simply say that I am quite confident in the team that we have, in the structure that we're developing, and ultimately in the manner and mechanism in which we will deliver services to the residents of Roswell. I think we do a good job now, but we want to do the best job that we can, and we want to set this organization up in a manner that will allow us to be flexible, to address issues in the moment, and not become stagnant or stale in how we evaluate, assess ourselves, and how we deliver services to residents. So while I won't get into specifics or individuals, I will tell you that this organization is moving forward with the intent of providing the best level of service to you, the residents, and you will see the results of everything that we are putting in place right now. You begin to see that in the near future, certainly see that in the long term. And so I would continue to encourage all of our staff members to have confidence in everything that we're doing. I personally, as city administrator, have met with teams, all of our departments, individually, and to ensure that they understand where we're going, what we're trying to do, and ultimately we want to create an organization that allows for creativity and innovation from all of our staff members. It's not, I don't have all of the answers, our leadership team doesn't have all of the answers, but our staff members do, and we're giving them a voice through this Reinvent Roswell initiative. So I look forward to everything that we're currently doing, look forward to everything that we will do in the future, and you will see the results of an organization that is nimble, flexible, and able to have latitude in how it delivers its services.
Thank you, Mr. Knight, and I appreciate your leadership. It's an incredible blessing to this city and to its residents and to its businesses, and I thank you for it very much. And I'll just say, in terms of the financial piece, those comments, with all due respect, wherever they're coming from, to my knowledge, have no basis in any kind of fact. So I can't. That is just pure speculation that is not founded on anything. It's just put in the atmosphere in terms of any issues, in terms of the city's finances, or anything in relation to the bonds. Sharon Izzo, also Deputy City Administrator, runs Our CIP team runs the bonds. Through Randy's leadership, we've brought a discipline to the bond projects this year, heretofore unseen, I dare say, in this city and many other cities, in terms of bringing really strict discipline physically and having understanding about not only the cost structure of the projects, but what the projects will look like. And you probably saw this recently, that we just launched an actual bond website. What's it called, Sharon? It's dashboard. What's the website, so I can give it to everybody now, so you can go look. You can go look at any bond project right now in the city and see the status of it, what it's for, what it's going to be, how much it's going to cost, what the current status of it is, what the current cost appraisal is. It's live. It's actionable. Give me the website. I apologize.
Roswell website /bond. And there's a link
Roswell website /bonds. Thank you, Stephen. Roswell website /bonds. You can go there right now and look at the bond projects. And I urge everybody to do that. And I urge everybody to do that as much as you want to, because in the word, and I'll say it, my least favorite word in the dictionary is transparent, because usually it never means transparent. What we have done is to illuminate, I think, and bring as much information as possible through this bond website, so that you can see it like we can see it, real time, see what's going on, both from inside the city at the staff level and from the council, the elected leadership, and for every resident and business to see what's going on. So that, to me, is what you want from your government, is to be able to see what's happening and to see the accountability of what's happening. And exactly to the issue of finances, that's what's happening with your bond dollars. So thanks very much. Mr. Yao, public comment would not be right without you coming up to see us. So welcome, sir. And I'll introduce you because, Jason Yao, former mayor candidate, and welcome to come see us, Jason. And just share with everybody, you're a Roswell resident, obviously, where you live.
5010 Old Oak Trace.
Thank you, sir.
Roswell, Georgia.
Outstanding.
So I've got a couple of questions. One, and it's a question I've asked before and haven't really gotten an answer. There was a piece of property at Oxbow on Maple Street that was acquired. The city liked it so much it bought it twice. And the first time you bought it, it turns out that the fellow who sold it didn't really own it. And subsequently, the city had to buy it again from the actual owner. And I'm just wondering, what is the outcome of that first purchase? And has legal action been taken to recover the money? Has a criminal complaint been made against the guy who took the money? Because he sold a warranty deed, he committed fraud, and yet I don't recall that he was arrested. I don't recall that the city has gone after collecting the money, and it's still a mystery. The other thing I'm wondering about is the city paid $200,000 to the Development Authority for a consultant to do some work. I believe it was the Sizemore Group. What is the work product that the Sizemore Group produced for $200,000? We've never seen that. Then there's the other consultant that, from what I understand, it's $1 million contract. $250,000 has been paid, and again, we don't know what is the nature of what they're doing. We've been told that it has to do with real estate and personnel, and therefore it can't be publicly discussed. But when you look at the website for this particular consultant, that's not what he does. He's a marketing guy. So we're a little confused out in the public. Why is he getting all this money? Why is it a secret? And why is this not his field of expertise that is keeping it so secret? Then I'd like to talk about Oxbow. It continues to be an unmitigated disaster. I drive through there several times a day. The traffic is horrendous. It has induced such an increase in traffic flow. It is so out of scale for the historic district. It's huge. There was no need for it to be a four-way intersection. It could have been right on, right off. It didn't need a light. It didn't need a throughway across Highway 9. The traffic was great while it was closed, and now it's horrendous. It's only going to get worse. We had, on the Transportation Advisory Commission, we had advised that the rest of Oxbow be narrowed. We were told, oh, can't be done, there's no money for it. Well, I'm glad to see that you found the money, because that's an important part of that particular puzzle. I'm glad to see that there's going to be a multi-purpose path. We also made recommendations for Grimes Bridge Road, and they were along the same lines of pulling in the curb lines to narrow the road to provide more room for pedestrians and bikes not being in the street. And we were told, oh, yeah, that's no good. Now in 2022, the city had a consultant present a concept plan for Grimes Bridge full of roundabouts. It was terrible. In 2023, the same plan was put again, and the response was the same. The advice of the Transportation Advisory Commission was completely ignored, and the same plan was presented again to the same response of the community that this is not what we want. Now I hear that the roundabouts are coming out. That's good. I hope the proposed decel lane for the cottage school is coming out too, because that is not a traffic calming device. That's a traffic facilitating, speeding device. I'd like to see more of the decel lanes come out in T-Splosh projects than go in, because it doesn't work for us. It works for the cut-through traffic. And, oh boy, I got 17 seconds left. I'm going to end it early. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Yao. Appreciate it. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Welcome, Janet. Janet Russell. Welcome.
My name is Janet Russell, and I live in Roswell. And I want to first say we had a terrific Youth Day parade. Been going to them for all 50 years since my daughters were little, and now they're mothers. We had Fall Farm Days the same day. We had the art block, and we had the Touch-a-Truck. When I looked back on it, I thought Roswell came together to celebrate the past, the present, and the future.
Hey, guys, Jason.
Jason,
One
I'm
person,
speaking.
please.
Thank you. We celebrated the past, the present, and the future. We had a historic home, we had our children, we had art, we had the truck. All in one place. It's amazing we could all gather here, because we don't have any gathering places in Roswell. It's really pitiful we don't have places to gather. But apparently about 4,000 people decided we could gather back there, and it was great fun. But I really came to talk tonight about something very personal, and that is the new dog whistle in this campaign, which seems to be transparency. That's the new word of the day. I've always been about transparency ever since I moved here. That's why, you know, I only speak the truth. That's why at my age I have a very good memory, because if you only speak the truth, you don't have to remember what you said to whom. It never changes. I hope you're all paying attention to what I'm saying. I have a pretty strong sense of what is right and what is wrong. It's how I was raised. I don't cotton very much on lying. I don't like it. If you lie to me once, it's like a teacup. You might put it back together with glue, but you'll never trust the teacup again. If you lie to me once, you're a broken teacup. I'll never trust you again. One of our last meetings here, one of the council people suggested that we get rid of or disband the Ethics Commission. She implied that we were political pawns and that we were political appointees that would be doing the bidding of council members, and that even some of them were married to council members. I've been on the Ethics Commission for 8 years. I was nominated by Mr. Zapata and then appointed by the council then. I was renominated last year, and I was reappointed. In the 8 years I've served, we've never been called for anything. But I really take it personally that someone would question my qualifications to be on an ethics commission. Really personal. That's an insult to me. Because that same person lied about a present council member when she said he was a member of the KKK and needed a bigger closet for his robes. Maya Angelou said, when a person shows you who they are, believe them the first time. More transparency. When there was a work session a few months ago, and all the organizations were asking for money, Roswell Inc. and Visit Roswell were there asking for money. A council person never actually mentioned that she had been on the board of Roswell Inc. Not presently, but in the past. They talked about the mobile tourism truck and how valuable it was and what a great idea it was and blah, blah, blah. And I got up and told her after the meeting that I had created that idea and I was waved off. I've only ever heard Andy Williams' name. So I sent her the complete list of all the emails between me and Mr. Williams beginning October 8th of 2020. I got no reply. I resent it, and I finally got a reply, and the reply was, what it was one word, understood. This is about transparency. It's not about attack. I want people to know what's going on, because that glass window, you look out and you look in. It goes both ways. They want to get rid of people want to apply anonymity to the ORRs. That's the antithesis of transparency. If we don't know who's asking for information, and I've been told some people have pirated other people's emails to get information. No, if you want it, you talk about it. Another bit of information, a restaurant owner on Canton Street decided that because he wasn't chosen to be on the task force, was pissed off, so he called the members of the task force the night before the first meeting to intimidate them, and they all backed down. Don't we love that? Such high values. I also got some things here in the mail from 3 of the candidates, and they're all sponsored by the Atlanta Realtors Political Affairs Committee in the mail. Now, the last thing, and I hope you don't cut me out, but it's about the Roswell Youth Day Parade.
I got to, Janet, I'm
I
sorry.
was insulted by one of the candidates who was writing.
I'm sorry, yes, ma'am. I got to cut you off.
Well, she stole my joy, and I'll never forget it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to address those comments because I believe a good solid portion of them were probably directed to me. Yes, at one of our recent council meetings, I have said that I support the disbanding of our Ethics Commission. I've spoken to several council members, some of which served for decades, who said during their entire time on city council, they never once received an ethics complaint. That being because it is a citizen-appointed commission. If you look at other surrounding cities in North Fulton, I'll use Johns Creek as an example, I'll use Milton as an example. Their ethics commission is comprised of 3 outside counsel, so attorneys, who rotate, who do not have any kind of business with those cities, so they are not clients of that city, they don't represent the city, so that they can be non-biased third parties in ethics complaints. They then rotate in the order from those attorneys' offices who would then see those ethics complaints. The point that I made during a previous meeting was if you see our list of ethics commissions, not even just this year, but in past years as well, it's easy to see an inherent bias if you were to bring an ethics complaint forward. So in this case, I would much rather be non-biased and hold a higher ethical standard by using an outside counsel from an attorney that doesn't do business with the city of Roswell. I appreciate your long-standing commitment to the city of Roswell, Ms. Russell. I really do. It takes a lot of effort to show up to each and every one of these meetings for 50 years, to follow the bouncing ball with what goes on at City Hall. You are incredibly engaged as a resident. However, when you say that you only speak the truth, I must say out of a point of frustration that a recent campaign event you had told people that I was on drugs, that I have psychological problems, that my husband lied about his ethnicity. And so those are issues that I personally contend with, and we have a candidate here who can vouch for that. And I had folks who left the restaurant who did not even attend the campaign event who were very upset about that, who share the same ethnicity as my husband. I also have an email from you dated October 7th, 2021, where you said, "Shall I make up nonsense about you, post it, and encourage others to support my unfounded comments? I'm just curious." So I have to say it's incredibly frustrating to have somebody call me a liar, of all people, and try to make unfounded insinuations about who I am and who I represent in the community. Again, I represent your commitment. I represent your commitment to the city of Roswell, and I appreciate your involvement.
Janet,
Thank you.
the floor is, I will say, let me say, and I'm going to go on record, and by the way, I like Sarah a lot. I would say, Sarah, this is what I would say. I hear you about being accused of lying. And what I would say to you is, I hear you. So I would say equally stand up. When people make the accusations towards me of corruption, lack of transparency, lack of ethics, you know better. And I wish you would stand up for that as strongly as you just stood up for yourself, because you know that's not what's going on in City Hall. And that bothers me too. It bothers me that people, and by the way, let me be clear and be on the record. When the corporate environment, I remember very clearly, the word transparency was used all the time. It was used all the time. It was a buzzword, and it meant nothing. And so my experience in my almost 62 years of life was that transparency is a buzzword, and I've seen it used in this campaign. And reality is that this city government, underneath the leadership of this elected leadership, this council, underneath the leadership of Mr. Knighton, has become incredibly transparent. This government is doing nothing but being transparent. I would suggest to you that the Canton Street Promenade is an example of transparency, because this mayor, in an effort of when people weren't happy, what did I do? I had public meetings with people who weren't unhappy. I don't know how you discuss that as something but transparency. And yet, the issue of transparency, not being in the forefront, continually to hear the silliness. You know, I remember, and I grew up as a liberal Democrat. I'll just share this with you on a personal side. And my mom was in politics, and she used to say to me, if you don't have anything to say, bang the table a lot and yell up and down about non-issues like transparency, not at that time, ethics and corruption. And it's a shame that in our city, where we all want the same thing, we're 100,000 people that basically want the same thing, and we have very few issues of policy that actually we have disagreement on. There's a few issues of policy that we probably should talk about and have honest disagreement about. But as a people, we've got to stop denigrating one another when we disagree. And we've got to stop making baseless accusations about one another. And I realize a campaign is a campaign. And there are some people who are out of power who want to be back in power now, and I'm sorry. You know, you have competent people running the city and the administration. You have competent people who are elected officials who are in an office who are doing a great job as your fellow residents. That's the truth of the matter. Matter of fact, probably serving the city in a way heretofore not seen, maybe ever, or at least in 30 years. And that bugs some people, and I get it. Competence bugs people. When you're doing the right thing and you're getting things done, people get upset when they haven't been a part of it. But we're going to keep knocking things out. We're going to keep getting things done. That's the truth. And so baseless accusations, phony things about corruption, lack of transparency and ethics are nonsense. And I think the vast majority of us know that. So I would say that's not a good thing for our local government. It's not a good thing for us as a people. And I would say to my colleague, I wish you were upset about that. That's all I have to say. All right. Any other comments from any Roswell residents? Yes, sir.
My name is Roman Perzak, 810 Whitehall Way.
Yes, sir. Welcome.
I want to follow the First Lady that she was talking about, the mailer. All my life I was doing research in the medical field, and I love it. And I did the research when I received the mailer, because apparently there was a mailer worse than this last year. and I found out that federal law by FCC has specific laws how for political campaign. What need to be on the mailer or if you want the flyer. And this is 3 requirements, and they even put a sample how it need to be look. They need to be on the stamp, paid by so-and-so, a permit from a post office. Second, it need to be address of the company or group from where it is sent. And the third, and this is example, third is paid for by XYZ. It's a requirement by law. So we have, last year, even it was worse, someone put a stamp on the mail, so it not be identified. Put an address of P.O. Box, false, doesn't exist such a mailbox. And of course, by someone that we don't know. Definitely it's come from someone. This time, it's better because at least someone put the address, which is staple in Alpharetta. They should bring job to Roswell, not to Alpharetta. And we know there is a professional company, I figure out, iVision, that their business is to do that. Now, the federal law is so specific that even they said that on every flyer or mailer, the candidates can put his picture with his family. If there's another picture of the opponent or some of the people, they need to have a permission from the person. If they didn't receive the permission, you can sue them and have money and everything. There are rules over there and what you can do. So I was surprised that exist. I personally, when I gave interview, we were giving interview to TV, they gave me a pack of signs that they cannot sue me if I say something or they ask me the wrong questions. Even BBC came and said, what the hell BBC from England want for me to sign? But they said it's according to the American law. I have the same thing with China. They want to take my picture, put on the vest. So this is a federal law. You have a lawyer, he can check exactly like I Googled for it. So this stuff should be stopped. It's happened last year, it's happened this year, and I would like from you to do something so it will not happen. And I know that it's political, but this is somewhere that need to be stopped. Just on the mailer, what's very interesting, that says that Roswell is one of the 2 cities that is mentioned in the company, the best cities to live. Apparently, there's 2 cities in Southeast. There's another, they say 25 cities. Among those cities is also Fort Lauderdale. So maybe we need to build an airport here, if it would be better life. But, you know, in politics, you can put everything what you want. There's also organizations that U.S. News, they also put colleges and everything. And I was looking if they put Roswell. No, they put Jones Creek, but among the 150 cities, Roswell doesn't exist. And I can tell you one thing, if you pay money to these companies, they can put and can write everything what you want. So I just wanted it, it's a federal law, and you have a lawyer, he can check it too, what allowed and not allowed. And I will appreciate it, Mayor, if we will have election next year, or in 2 years, maybe you'll not be here, or city council, just follow up. This is federal law, and you can sue. So if there are 2 candidates on the pictures and didn't give a permission, they can sue them. They don't need to run forward for the city hall.
Thank you. Rowan. Thank you. Would any other Roswell residents like to speak? Being that there are no other Roswell residents like to speak, I bring it back to the Mayor and Council for any thoughts or comments or closing questions or anything you'd like to say. Councilman Palermo.
I have two things. One, there's obviously been a bunch of attack ads that we've all seen showing Councilmember Christine Hall's face. I am curious if she gave permission to her opponent to share her face in those attack ads. But on a
No, I didn't.
okay, you did not give permission for it. All right, that's good to know. But on a serious note, actually, something I do want to just bring up and address going back as well for Mr. Knight. And so regarding some of the organizational aspects and changes that he did, let me give an example. I certainly disagreed and shared my disagreement, and big example around it is code enforcement. Code enforcement's always been in ComDev. I think it makes a lot of sense, giving building, et cetera. And Mr. Knighton, just had a vision of the need for improvement. And I got to say, so far, what I've seen, although I disagreed with the change, I've seen some real, just frankly, improvement. And just an example is what we heard today from a resident, and mentioned a complaint they've had for a long time going on. So kind of far back dated, but that was kind of the common aspect on what I'd hear regarding code enforcement, and always doing different things to try to improve it, whether outsourcing it, bringing it back in house, doing changing up the people, and just always having those different issues. And just in the last couple of weeks, actually, someone reached out to me, and just resident in Roswell reached out, just with the concern of a house on their street, and not that it matters, but it's a resident that I certainly see. It's not very nice person. Love running into him on Cannon Street or wherever. Someone that has certainly never voted for me, and in fact I think never voted for any of the same people that I've voted. And at the same time, that doesn't matter. I appreciate the opportunity to serve everyone, no matter who they're voting for, no matter what their viewpoints are on development or anything else. But nonetheless, there was a problem house affecting this individual and many other neighbors. And so code enforcement, with the new area where it sits, I brought it up. I basically just forwarded that information, or read it verbatim, I should say. And it was amazing how quickly I was getting status updates and hearing things that were being addressed, and the things that could be addressed immediately versus here's the timetable for the other aspects. So even though I didn't love the idea of a change, I am glad to see that Mr. Knighton was right when he just stood by that there is the need to reinvent some things. So just wanted to certainly address that and give Mr. Knighton some credit there. And as for a personnel change that was asked about, interestingly enough, that's something where I've heard from even former department directors that are no longer working here, that are working elsewhere or whatnot, that always had the certain complaints, et cetera, and that's one that actually just had a change, this year. And I'm obviously not going to get into any personnel, individuals or things like that. But I'm someone that doesn't love change, but at the same time, I am glad to see some positive ones. So obviously, I think these are all important issues that we always need to make sure we're focused on. How can we do better for our residents and better for our employees here and all that. So I think that's really important. But I did just want to also defend, because even though I'm someone that was somebody that disagreed, I'm hoping to continue to see just more advantages, as Mr. Knighton's already given me a few examples. So I just wanted to raise that. And lastly, Mayor, you hit on the bonds a little bit as well. What I'd say is, and actually as the amazing resident, but amazing resident, so thank you for the reminder of that, but was also actually an amazing, really, really talented individual here that really actually helped find and save some money in a way that I felt like we had not happened before. And so that was amazing to see, kind of thinking outside the box, being innovative, and save taxpayers a lot of money through kind of just his expertise. But as for the bonds, so certainly with it so early, that's certainly speculation, where I agree with the mayor. But what I'd point out is, and as the resident accurately put, for $18,000 a year, so not $18,000 a year, certainly don't have the time to be looking at every single little detail. But what I'd say is, it's really important that staff is held accountable, that ultimately we need to make sure that we're appropriately hitting budget. And I will say that in my 8 years, there is more accountability at City Hall and more accountability for staff than there has ever been, which I think is great. And we have so many great staff members, so many great leaders here that certainly rise to the top and rise to the occasion. So many, and across all levels. When I say rising to the top, that means, you know, I got to be over EPW for a year or two. That water department, it's unbelievable what they're doing for our residents. So people at all levels rising to the top, absolutely, you know, having no problem with the accountability or whatnot. But back to the bond, that there is and needs to be the accountability that budget is hit, and frankly, to also be aware of those bond numbers cannot be exceeded. So if X amount is the amount that's approved, if they're over budget, it doesn't just mean, well, the city finds more money for it. It means the scope has to be cut back. So it's really important that there's not scope creep, and that staff's really vigilant for that. So I just wanted to address those things because I think they are important. I think they're relevant. I think there's certainly probably a lot of residents, you know, just worried about that. Even though a strong majority voted for the bonds, absolutely, they're making sure all of us are really accountable at keeping staff really accountable, who's really focused on just making sure this Roswell is continuing to constantly improve and really be that #1 family-friendly city.
Thanks, Mike. I'm going to bring up 3 words: zero-based budgeting. So, by the way, it's one of those buzzwords out there in the corporate world, so it gets used a lot like transparency. It doesn't really have a meaning thing. What's interesting and ironic is that this administration, this elected leadership, this city administrator actually implemented zero-based budgeting. And if you talk to a lot of people, and Christine can attest to this as a CFO and working with a major accounting firm, a national accounting firm for many, many years, zero-based budgeting is a term that gets used loosely, and most people have no idea what it means. This city got intimately familiar with what zero-based budgeting means. And I can tell you, you can talk to a lot of people, even in the accounting world, and they don't know what zero-based budgeting means. It's usually an adaptation of incremental budgeting. This city got serious about ZBB, and you want to talk about finances, this city is serious about its very austere perspective about its financial responsibility to its residents and businesses. And that's why one of the many reasons zero-based budgeting is now a standard operating platform for the city's fiscal matters. It matters. It's a big deal. It takes a lot of competence. It takes a lot of work. Christine was a gigantic part of that, a gigantic part of zero-based budgeting. The staff underneath Randy's leadership and every director in this city was involved in zero-based budgeting. So that's why I would say, you know, a lot of things creep into vernacular and creep into the public sphere. And it's a perfect example to suggest that there's anything going on financially with the city of Roswell that would be suspect or potentially harmful in terms of the budgetary process is the farthest thing from the truth. It's the exact opposite. Not only does the city remain its AAA bond rating after issuing $180 million of GO bonds, which is a tremendous accomplishment, this city is serious about the business of zero-based budgeting. We cut money from the budget last year doing the zero-based budget process and added service level and services that had not been seen in the city. And those are illuminated. You can go back and look at the State of the City speech where many of those are illuminated. So just want to be clear about finances with respect. Your money is being well taken care of. I can promise you that. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Just one quick point of clarification, though, on zero-based budgeting. We never did establish zero. So usually with zero-based budgeting, you have to have the benchmark of zero to know that lock it in 3 years, 5 years, however many years moving forward. Instead, we'll be rehashing the same process next year, essentially trying to recreate the wheel or an exercise in futility, if you will. So we don't necessarily have zero established. So I realize that we had very stringent budget standards this year. I realize that department heads really struggled to make sure that they meet those requirements because a lot was moved and stripped. But at the same time, we never established zero for future years moving forward. So I assume we're going to continue to have to do that process.
So zero-based budgeting is a very simple process. It asks the expert, which is the department, the director of that department, what assets, right, do you need? What people do you need? What capital do you need? What is your mission? What mission are you trying to accomplish? How good are you at that mission? What things are you doing that you should be doing more of, and what things are you doing that you should be doing less of? That's part of the directive of ZBB. It's a very entrepreneurial approach. It worked this past year. Yeah, every year budgeting should start back at zero. Anything else is incremental budgeting. It's incremental budgeting creep, which is a disservice to the dollars that we are physically responsible for to our residents and our business owners. So, yeah, it is not a big ask for a very competent professional to understand their business model, what they're running, and to say, what assets do you need, what resources do you need, what capital do you need, what people do you need, how are you doing in your particular business mission, what are you doing well, what are you not doing well? And that's what ZBB basically is, and that's what we're involved in. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to add, so what it does also is it goes back to the beginning to basically say, what is the priority? What are we trying to do? What is the priority for the residents? Because government grew so big. So this was pulling it back and basically saying, just an example for the police department, what are the two priorities for the police department? And how are you going to achieve those? That's where we started with zero-based budgeting, and we started, I guess, multiple times because it was a new process.
And I think everybody understands that government, whether it's a national level, the state level, the county level, or even the city municipal level, that there's always government creep. I mean, there's always that things grow without accountability. It's just the nature of the game. And so to bring a very, very radical approach to budgeting is a big deal, and it takes a lot of competence. This is not, like, there's a reason people don't get involved in it. It's tough stuff. It's not hard. But underneath the leadership of Randy and the leadership team of the staff and talent, and through the elected leadership, we achieved zero-based budgeting, and we'll do it again this year. All right. Any other thoughts, comments, or questions? With that, I'll ask for a motion to close the public comment meeting. Motion by Councilmember Beeson. Seconded by Councilmember Morthland. All in favor of closing the public comment meeting, please raise your hands. This meeting is formally ended. Thank you very much.